G'day everyone, welcome to Animal Tales with Tim Faulkner. That's me at the Australian Reptile Park in Aussie Ark. Today I am talking about one very special wombat. This is a baby wombat. Now wombat is a marsupial. Now, I don't have a name for her yet, so don't think I've forgotten it or don't think I'm not calling her by her name. You're going to hear more about that when we get to the homework, because I've got something that includes that for you to do. But I want to tell you about her story. It's a little bit sad, but it has a happy ending. Now, wombats are marsupials, and her mum was out feeding one night with this little one in her pouch, and very sadly her mum was hit by a car. That's tragic, and it happens sometimes. But there's one thing that I want to show you, and that is on the wombat's bottom, just here, there's a really hard cartilage plate. So sometimes if they get hit by a car, mum can suffer the worst of all and die. But the joey is alive inside. Now this little one was found by a wonderful family who stopped to check the pouch of a marsupial. She wouldn't be here today if they didn't do that. And she was rescued. Now I care for her. I'm mum, and I'm dad, and I'm brother and sister. And I couldn't be happier. Now wombats, as I've said, are marsupials. That means they have a pouch. And just down in here is her little pouch. It's not very well developed because she's just a joey. And at this age, she would still live in a pouch. But she comes out each night for little periods of time. She tries to get back in the pouch, but mum will stop her. Now, wombats as marsupials mean that they mate. They're only pregnant for like 35 days, a really short pregnancy. And they're born the size of a grain of rice. All marsupials are. And they climb into that pouch. Now, there are 3 species of wombat in Australia. The northern hairy-nosed wombat, that's actually critically endangered. The common eastern wombat, that lives from Queensland all the way down through New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. And then the southern hairy-nosed wombat that's over through Victoria and South Australia. What they all have in common are some of these features. Their ears aren't too big, but they can hear quite well. Their eyesight is not great. They've got little eyes, but it's still okay vision. A really good sense of smell for digging up their food, and they mainly eat things like grasses, the roots of plants, soft foliage. They're herbivores. Now, they are called bulldozers of the bush. They live in burrows, really big burrows that they dig themselves. Now, those burrows that they live in provide safety for them, but they also aerate the soil and turn the soil over, which is good for turning over nutrient. But look at these claws. So the front paws, with these really strong muscular arms and claws, are for digging. And the back paws are almost like shovels. They actually move the dirt away and get it out of the way. Now, a few of the other things I mentioned before, but on her bottom here is a really hard cartilage plate. It feels like concrete. Now, they use that for protection. One of their major predators is dingoes. And dingoes will chase a wombat down its burrow. And when it does, the wombat, she's doing it right now. She's a little bit nervous because I'm talking loud. But she puts her bottom like this in her burrow and then whacks it up. And you imagine what happens to the dingo's head. It gets squashed and it can't get down the burrow and they can't eat wombats. So that's how they defend themselves. Now they are nocturnal. That means they're out of a nighttime. Sometimes maybe in the early morning or late afternoon, but pretty strictly nocturnal. Now their camouflage is very simple. It blends in with the nighttime bush environment. So it's quite brown and grey with some white flecks in it, but very hard to see at night. Now when wombats breed, you can imagine it's autumn here and we've got a joey. So we know that this joey is about 6 or 7 months old. So 6 or 7 months ago, mum and dad mated. The joey climbs into the pouch and mum protects it inside that pouch until it gets big enough. Then it follows mum around and it learns what to eat and where to eat and how to eat. But I want to come back to her story now. So she's in my care, and that means it's 24-hour, round-the-clock care. We have to provide artificial milk that's made to be just like mum's milk. We've got to keep her safe in a pouch, an artificial pouch. we've got to make sure that her temperature is consistent. Not too hot, not too cold. But for the majority of the time at the moment, she needs this. One-on-one contact. Her bond with mum is really strong. And when she's not in one-on-one contact like this, she lives in a pouch, sometimes in my shirt, sometimes hanging off the back of the door. She has to come out and be toileted. I don't want her to go to the toilet in a pouch. So after she has each bottle, she goes for a run on the grass. Now the grass is where she learns her environment, but she also goes to the toilet and she also exercises. Now the thing is with me or mum, she doesn't want to do that, just like you guys probably don't like to exercise, but she has to because it's good for her. So I take her for a jog. And just like mum, she follows behind me. And that's her story. Now wombats are one of my favourite animals. Everyone seems to love them. And you can see why. Now I come back to where we started. At the beginning, it was obvious that I don't have a name for her. And she was only rescued really recently. She's just started drinking. We know that she's healthy, she's been to the vets. So now is the right time to give her a name. I've told you a few things about wombats. I've told you about her. And I can tell you that she's pretty cheeky. She likes to bite and nip a little bit. She likes to run around. She's a bit cheeky. So you have two bits of homework. The first is, I want you to come up with a name. And we can only pick one name. So I'm sorry to everyone that picks a name that we don't use, but I want you to anyway. But importantly, I want you to pick a name that has meaning. And what I mean by that is something about her species, about her environment, about what she means culturally. Give me ideas. The second bit of homework, I want you to draw a wombat. But I want a little bit of the environment in it. Their burrow that's underground, the dirt mound outside the burrow, the trees in the background. They live in Eastern Australia. I've given you enough clues. There's your two bits of homework. Thank you for watching today. I'll see you again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now, the keepers and I are looking after all of our animals and our families. But we all have a bit of extra time at the moment, like you probably do too. So this is a great distraction for us, and hopefully you. If you like what you've seen or want to show me your homework, just put it into the comments. This is what I do, connecting people with nature, and that can't stop. I'll see you next time.